All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Frgali. I'm with SkillForge, and today we're going to talk about Introduction to Power Pivots. What we're going to do is I'm going to mute everybody out, and then if you have questions, you can put it in the chat area, and then we'll unmute everybody at the end of the webinar. But for the webinar, we're just going to have everybody muted out, and you can feel free to put your questions into your chat, and we'll also unmute everybody at the end. I want to show you what power pivots are and really how to get the most out of them, and show you perhaps how you can go further after this webinar. So let's talk about what is a power pivot. Really, it's a great add-on to Microsoft Excel that started with Excel 2010, and they've even enhanced it more with Excel 2013. It's a download you can get from free from the Microsoft.com website, and it really combines the best of Excel plus a little bit more to allow you to get really powerful results from your data in the quickest way possible. Basically, it will allow you to take your data and it combines sorts, filters, pivot tables, charts, slicers, and even new functions that are even not available anywhere else except for a Power Pivot, all into one easy-to-use interface. Now, the benefits of a Power Pivot are that, first of all, there's no limits to the number of rows and columns you can have in a Power Pivot. Starting in Excel 2007 and Excel 2010 and 13, your Excel spreadsheet could have somewhere around 1,048,000 rows. Well, a Power Pivot could even go beyond that. Today, we're going to see a table that has over 2 million rows, and the Power Pivot will be able to handle that, plus a lot more. Another benefit to a Power Pivot is that you can use data from many different sources, including Excel, Access, SQL Server, Oracle, other ODBC data sources, text files, and many more. And then you'll be able to join your tables together on common fields, allowing you to make even more powerful reports. Now, even if the data comes from different sources, you'll still be able to join them on a common field. So it really allows you to take all of your data and summarize it into powerful reports. We'll see today that you can make an easy-to-use dashboard for your user community with a Power Pivot. And there's even new and powerful functions that are unique to Power Pivots, and we're going to see those today, or at least we'll introduce you to where they are. So now I'm going to close out a PowerPoint, and of course we're going to go into Excel. Now, in order to use the Power Pivot, you have to go to the Microsoft website and be able to download that and install that. And I'm just going to lock out the person that just came in. All right. And let's see. Sorry about that. All right. So in this case, notice how this Excel spreadsheet, let's say, has the categories of our products. And then we're going to go see that we have data in other sources as well. So for example, I'm going to go to an Access database. Okay. So hold on, everybody. Let me make sure that I am sharing. Okay, great. All right, thank you. And let's make sure that we have that new person muted out. There you go. So notice this Excel spreadsheet. It has the product categories, and it has a category ID over here in column A. Well, I'm going to show you that we have other data in an Access database. And in Access database, we have several tables. First of all, the fact sales table, if I go into that in Access, this has things like the sales ID, the channel. Notice how the channel is just a number, the store is just a number, the product key, and the promotion code are all numbers. Well, I really like to see the actual names of the product and the promotion and the store. Well, we're going to get those from other tables. Now, I want you to look at the bottom of this table, and you're going to notice that it actually has over 2 million rows. We're going to be able to pull that into a Power Pivot. Here I have a table that's called promotion, and this will have the promotion name. Here we have a table called subcategory, which we'll use. Things like laptops and speakers are the subcategories. And then the product itself is our inventory. Here you have the product name. And then over here we have the channel, which will be the advertising channel, like a store, online, catalog, or retail. So I really want to try to get all of this information combined, and that's what a PowerPivot is going to be allow you to do. Now I even have another table in a text file which has information about the individual stores in our chain perhaps, okay? So here's the challenge. We have 6 or 7 different tables, actually 3 different data sources, one for Excel, a couple for Access, one's even in a text file. And then we have over 2 million sales records, and we want to try to get meaningful information out of that. Well, that's exactly what a PowerPivot is going to allow you to do. So I'm actually going to close these windows in Access, and we'll go back to Excel. And let me make sure that we're going to mute that person off for a second. Okay, there you go. All right, so like I said, we'll mute everybody out, and at the end, we'll bring everybody back in. If you have questions, you can put them into the chat. So we're going to start here. Now, if you notice, I have a new tab up in my menu bar that's called PowerPivot, and that's because I installed the PowerPivot download from the Microsoft website. So I'll pick on that. Now, if I want to make this Excel spreadsheet and include it in my PowerPivot, I'm going to click on one cell. Now, by the way, notice how the field names are on the top row of the Excel spreadsheet. That's going to be very important. And then we'll say Create Linked Table. Now, notice how it automatically picked the range, and my table does have header, so I'll click on OK there. Now, it's actually going to bring it into the PowerPivot screen. And I want you to notice that down here, we have a new tab. Each different table in your PowerPivot is going to be a different sheet or a different tab. Now, I'm going to rename that. So I'm going to right-click on where is this table, and we'll pick on Rename. And let's say we're going to call this one Categories, just to give it a better name. Now you're going to see I'm going to pull data in from other sources. Now, first of all, take a look at your PowerPivot screen. It probably is familiar if you've been using Excel for a while, or Word or PowerPoint. It has this familiar menu layout. We have Home, which is where we're going to get our data sources from. Design, where we're going to make relationships between those tables. And then we'll talk about the different tabs here. So I'm going to go back to Home. Now, I would like to get more data, everybody. So I'm going to come over here and I'll say From Database. Now, notice here I can get from like SQL Server, from Access. Now, if we look over here where my mouse is going, you'll see we can get data from other sources as well, which I'll show you shortly. So I'll say From Access. Now, at this point, of course, it wants to be able to find your Access database. So I'm going to pick on the word Browse. And I know that mine is on my desktop, and I have a folder that's called PowerPivot. And I'm going to go to that Access database I was just showing you. So I'll double-click on that. Now, if that Access database has a username and a password, you would put that in right over here. This one does not have that. So I'll pick on Next. Now, I can either use the tables that are already there, or I can actually write a query based on those tables, and you would use the SQL language to write that query. But in this case, I'll just use the list of tables. And these are the tables from that Access database. You can really pick as many as you wanted to. So I'll pick on the channel table, the product, the subcategory, the promotion, and the main one is going to be the sales table. I'm going to go ahead and pick on Finish here. Now you can see it's starting to pull those tables in. Now the fact sales table does have over 2 million rows, and you can see this number keep on going up, of course. And this will just take a minute. Notice how it's already over what Excel can actually handle. It's already at, as I'm speaking, it's over 2 million rows right now. And it's reached the end now. And let me show you what happened at this point. The preparation won't be too much longer. So it does tell me that that's been completed, and at this point I'll pick on Close. Now I want to show you what happened. Each different table in the Access database made a different sheet or a different tab in your PowerPivot, as you can see. All right. Now remember, the first one that's called Categories is from an Excel spreadsheet, so these next couple are from the Access database. Now I'm even going to pull the data in from the text file as well. So in this case, I'm still in the PowerPivot, and I'll pick on File. I'll pick on Home, and then I'll say From Text. And I do have a text file as well, so I'll pick on Browse. And it's going to go back to that same folder. Of course, you would browse to that folder. And I'll pick on the store's text file, and I'll pick on Open. Now, in this case, this file is actually delimited by a tab instead of a comma. So I'll pick on Tab there. Now you can see that it brought in the different columns. And I want to tell it that my first row actually has my field names, because in this case it really does. But notice how I'm even able to bring in a text file into my PowerPivot as well. And it's going to go ahead and pull that in, and I'll pick on Close. And notice I have a new tab for my stores. If you come over here where it says From Other Sources, you can see that PowerPivot can work with many different data sources, including Access, Oracle, Sybase. I mean, just about everything that's out there. But even you can get to any other data source by using the OLEDB connections or ODBC. So it can work with really just about anything, as you can see. Very, very versatile. So I'll pick on Cancel there. So notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different tables from 3 different data sources. And now we'll really start to see the benefit of the PowerPivot. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is make sure that we have relationships between our tables. So I'm going to go over to the design screen at this time. And first of all, if that database in Access already had relationships established, the PowerPivot is going to inherit those. So I'm going to pick on Manage Relationships. And we're going to see that the subcategory table is joined to actually the product table, and the subcategory table are joined by a field. The sales table is joined to the channel table. The sales table is also joined to the product table, and the sales table is also joined to the promotion table. So those relationships already existed in the Access database, and it really inherited those, which is very helpful. However, I want to make sure that I join in the Excel spreadsheet and the text file as well. So here's how you're going to create a relationship. I just picked on Close there. I'm going to come up here under the Design menu, and I'll say Create Relationship. Now this is going to go really on the tab names that you have down there. So first of all, I know I want to link my product table, and the field there is going to be Class ID. And then I want to link that to the categories table. Now the field here is actually called product category key. So the field name does not have to be the same when you make this relationship. What has to be the same is it has to have the same data type. So in other words, you would go from a number to a number or a text to a text. It has to be the same data type, but it does not have to have the same data name, as you can see. So I'll pick on Create there. And it just was able to make that relationship, and we'll make one more using the stores table. So I'll pick on create relationship again. Now in this case, I know that the information is going to be in the sales table, and I have a field called store ID or store key. That's going to join to the stores table. And now notice how it made that assumption. It found that common field of the store key. So I'll pick on Create there. Now, I want you to remember that the sales table is an Access database, and the stores table is really a text file. But the PowerPivot can handle all of those and join those once they're in the PowerPivot screen. So I'll pick on Create. Okay, let me start to show you the first benefit of the PowerPivot. Now notice how the data comes in, and if you're familiar with Excel, the data is already filtered. So in this case, if I go to, let's say, the product table, or let's say the product table, and I want to then maybe filter by manufacturer, I can just click on the pull down for manufacturer and then pick and choose those. So the filter feature of Excel is already built right in. Of course, when I click on that pull down for the filter, I can also sort the columns, right? So the sorts and filters are built right into the PowerPivot. Now, I want to show you how you can actually eliminate things like a VLOOKUP, which is a complicated formula in Excel, but we can really get around that in a PowerPivot. In this case, I have the product table, and here I have, let's say, the class is really the category. Well, I like to have the official name of the category. So I'm going to come way over here to the right of the product table, and notice how I can add a new column. So I'll click on the first cell of the new column field. And I'm going to make a new formula here. So just like in Excel, normal Excel, let's start the formula with the equal sign. Now I'm going to come up to the FX, which of course is where we can have many, many functions. Now you're going to see that the PowerPivot has some different functions that Excel does not have. And it doesn't have all of the ones that Excel has, but it has most of the ones that you would use on a normal basis. But it really has some that you wouldn't find in Excel. Like for example, if I pick on the pull down for the category, if I pick on the filter category, all of these are pretty much unique to a PowerPivot. And there's some great things you can do with here, like distinct records and the earliest record and just powerful functions here. But let me show you how you can actually eliminate the VLOOKUP. You saw how I just made that relationship between the table. So I'm going to pick on related. That's the name of the function. And it says returns a related value from another table. So I'll click on OK. Now notice how up top it does start the related function. Now I know that the sheet I want to go to is the category table. And I'll pick the category name field. I'm just clicking right on that column. And I'm going to close that parentheses. So if you ever use the VLOOKUP, you can tell this formula is much easier to use than the actual VLOOKUP. Now watch everybody. I'm going to move my mouse over to this column and I'm going to hit the Enter key. And I want you to see what occurs. Because I made that relationship between this table and the categories table, it found every single category all the way down. So when you add a new column into a PowerPivot, it does it all the way down that column, as you can see. I mean, that's a great feature. It really makes that much easier. So I was able to join the tables together, and then here I used a function that's called related, and that pretty much replaces a VLOOKUP. So that's even one great advantage of a PowerPivot right there. Now we're really going to start to see the big advantage of the PowerPivot. You see, now I can make a pivot table from all of these different sheets because of those relationships that we established. So in this case, I'm going to go back to the home menu within the PowerPivot. Oh, by the way, this new column did not update the Excel spreadsheet. This new column is only available in the PowerPivot. In fact, I can't change data in the PowerPivot. However, if the original data changes, then what you would do is you would pick on refresh up here, and then that would update the PowerPivot with the original data. But I can't change the data here. And when I add columns to the PowerPivot, it does not actually affect the original data. So now let's see the real advantage of using the PowerPivot. I'm going to come up here and pick on the home menu, and then follow my mouse. It does say pivot table. And now at this point, I'm going to put this pivot table on a new worksheet. Now, by the way, it's actually going to bring it back to the original workbook in which I started, or it could have been, a different workbook. But here I'll say new worksheet, and I'll click on OK. And if you've ever seen a pivot table in Excel, you're going to see that this is very similar, except for a couple major changes. Look over here in the field list. You're going to notice that I can pull fields from any of those different data sources, categories, the channel table, the product, subcategory, promotion, sales table is the main data, and the stores. So let's say the channels are going to be I'm going to pick on channel. I just expanded that table. And I'm going to pick on channel name, and I'm going to pick that up and drag it to the row labels. Now notice this is the pivot table over on the left-hand side. So the channels are catalog, online, reseller, and store. So I just like to do a summary by those categories, so based on the sales. So what I'll do now is I'll expand the sales table, and I'll go get a field that's called sales amount. So I'm going to pick up sales amount and move it into the value section. And just like that, now these numbers are rather large because we have over 2 million records. But just like that, I was able to do a summary of the channel, the distribution channel by sales. Now think about it, everybody. Those two fields are really on two different tables, but the PowerPivot can handle those because of the nature of it and because of that relationship that we established. So let's go a little bit further now. Let's say in this case, actually I have a couple people that are coming on, so let's make sure we have those muted out as well. Okay, just so we don't get any background noise. And like I said, I'll pull everybody back in at the end. So let's go a little bit further now. Now I want to break it down by channel name, let's say by the promotions. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and we have one by promotion. Like your different advertising campaigns would be the promotions. So I'll pick on promotion name, and I'm going to drag that into the column label. And now notice how I'll split it out by promotion by whether it was as an online sale or reseller. I mean, look at the results that we just got, and those fields actually came from 3 different tables. Now let's kind of flip it. I'm going to pick up promotion name from the column and move it to the rows, just by picking up that field and dragging it over to the rows. Now I'll pick up channel and move it to the columns. And just like that, I mean, this is 2 million rows of data, and it's just doing these calculations so quickly, even though it's over multiple, it's really over multiple data sources and multiple sheets. So now I have it broken down by promotion, by catalog, online, reseller, and store. So you're starting to see the power of the pivot, PowerPivot. Yes, it's a pivot table, but we can really link to other sources and start to get these kind of results. So now I can get like any combination of my data based on the different tables and the different fields. So let's say we want to do it by category this time. So the categories would be like audio or TV or these kind of things. So instead of promotion name, I'm going to pick up promotion name and move that back to the fields. I'm just dragging it. It works very similar to the pivot table in Excel. Now I actually have a subtotal for each distribution channel. Let's pick up category name and then drag it into the row labels. Now you can see that's going to be by audio, computers, TV, and now I have that broken down by catalog, online, reseller, or store. So you can really just get any combination of your data, like a normal pivot table, except I can pull it from so many different tables, and it really makes using your data and compiling it much easier than it ever has been before. Now look over here. Another advantage of the PowerPivot is that it has the slicers built right into your field list over here. Now in Excel 2010, they came out with the slicers, and it's also available in Excel 2013. But here it's right part of the field list, and the slicers even allow you to go further beyond the normal filters. Like, well, let me show you the normal filters that come with a pivot table, especially a PowerPivot pivot table. So I'm going to click in the pull down where it says row labels. And you can see here that I can pick the different categories. So let's say I just want to see audio only. So I'll pick on audio and click on OK. And notice how it's just shown me that one row. So if I pick on that pull down where it says row label, I'll do select all, and now they'll come back again. But it's great that I can pick and choose those. Same thing, by the way, for the column labels. If I click in the pull down where it says column labels, I can pick and choose the different channels of distribution. Let's say I just want to see reseller and store, and notice how it just shows those columns. So those are the normal filters that are there with a pivot table anyway. In this case, I'll pick on clear filter and get all my information back. Now you can see we're back to the way it was before. Now, it looks like Excel might be having an issue here, okay, because Power Pivots are rather memory intensive. So I'm going to quickly get back to where we were before. Okay, so actually it did we got really lucky there, and it did the auto recovery in Microsoft Excel, which is really helpful. Now you can see, because it is a lot of data, it's reading that back again. And we're, okay, good, we are back. Okay, excellent. So, good. So let's keep on going. I'd like to show you the slicer windows. So in this case, let's say if I have the channel on the column and the product category on the row labels, now I'm going to pull in the promotion, and we'll bring that in, the promotion name, and we'll bring that into our slicers. Now look what happened over here. This is a slicer window, and I can just pick and choose any one that I want. And now I'm looking at the individual report for the European Spring promotion. Or let's say I want to see the Asian Spring promotion. I can just click on that, and you're going to notice how the numbers are changing with that. So very, very quickly, you can get to the exact records that you're looking for with the slicer windows. And notice how each time that I pick one of those, the pivot table is updating with the information just for that one promotion. So just imagine the possibilities. I mean, you can really get the exact records that you're looking for and get instant results. Now, to get all of my records back, I'm going to pick on the clear filter icon here. And now that would show all of the promotions again. And just give it a second to update here. And then another way I can do it is I can hold down my Shift key and then pick as many as I wanted to in that case. And then you'll see the numbers will update when I do that. So the slicer window allows you to go a little bit further and get the exact records that you're looking for. Now, in a second, I'm going to go ahead and add a chart to this as well. Now, notice what just happened to me. If I just click on a cell on the pivot table, the field list will come back. Now, I'm going to save this just in case we have that issue again. I'm going to make sure that we save that so we don't lose where we are. Just as a point of reference, it's doing so many calculations in the background that you want to have a computer that has a lot of RAM when you're working with the Power Pivots. All right, so now let's add a chart to this. To add a chart, I'm going to pick on the pivot table. I'll pick on the options menu, and we'll do a pivot chart. You see it has the same features as a normal pivot table. So I'll just add the normal column chart, and we'll click on OK. So notice now, if I pull something from the promotion, the data changes and the chart changes at the same time. So remember at the beginning of the session I said we can make a dashboard, and that's exactly what we have now. So people can just pick and choose the items that they want. The chart updates automatically. The data updates automatically. We're going to add another slicer this time. Let's say we're going to add a slicer. I'm looking at my different tables here. Let's say by store. So I'm going to expand the stores table. Here we'll get the store name, and I'll drag it right into the slicer vertical. Now the slicer horizontal, by the way, would just be at the top of the pivot table instead of at the side. So now I want to pick this promotion for this store. And notice how the numbers changed again. And I mean, it's just so amazing how you can get to the exact records that you're looking for. The slices really add that extra element to it. And notice how the chart is changing at the same time as well. If I wanted to pick more than one store, I'll hold down my control key this time, and I'll pick just different stores. And it's let me pick more than one because I'm holding down my control key. And I mean, I can just use these slicers, and this is what Microsoft is really calling a dashboard. I'm going to get all of the records back again by picking on the funnel, and now I'll pick on the funnel here as well. So now it's looking like it's keeping up with me. It's just doing so many calculations instantaneously, but now it looks like it's keeping up with me. So, I mean, just imagine the power of this, everybody. Now, let's say I want to see the same report by subcategory instead of by main category. Or let's say we want to add the subcategory in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and expand the subcategory table, and I'll pick on the subcategory name, and drag that into the row labels as well. Here it's called an axis fields. That's what a pivot table will call the row labels. Now I'm going to get rid of my chart. Now the chart's getting a little bit busy, but I just can delete, click on the chart and then delete it. I just hit my delete key. Now notice what happened. Now it expanded the audio category into the subcategories of home theater, laptops, monitors. Then there's a computer category, and there's TV and video as well. What if I didn't want the category in there anymore? I mean, this is so flexible. I could just pick up a product category and move that back to the fields, and now the report is just by subcategory. So, I mean, just think about all the possibilities with your data, and that should give you a decent idea of what a power pivot is and the possibilities, and how you can really take your data and get tremendous results. We can even make a dashboard. I can do this by store now. I can do it by promotion, any combination. Now, each of these different sections can have as many fields as you want it to, and the possibilities are really endless here. So hopefully you got an idea now of what a power pivot can do for you, and then also how it can be used. So in this case, I'm gonna unmute the president of Skillforge. His name is Joel. And Joel, are you with me?
I'm here, Tom.
Okay, good. So I'm going to put up a slide, and we're going to see that we have some upcoming Power Pivot classes coming up. So we have a Power Pivot session on 2010 on October 16th, November 3rd, and December 11th. And for 2013, we have one on October 17th, November 14th, and December 12th. Now,
yeah,
the
right.
Go ahead, Joel.
Sorry, Tom. So that's right. And we just wanted to mention those to you folks. Of course, we hope you got a lot out of the free webinar. There's a ton more to learn about PowerPivot. It's a super exciting product, based on in-memory computing, which is a really hot topic right now in the business world. Obviously, what Tom showed you, the ability to do computations on so many rows so quickly, is really a game changer. For those of you that have tried to run queries before and have had to wait, minutes or sometimes even hours for them to complete, hopefully you can see the benefit of PowerPivot in a really friendly, easy-to-use tool that you're probably already using every day right now, which is why we're so excited about PowerPivot. This webinar and the one we're doing later today, which is the same one, are by far our most popular webinars ever, which hopefully also shows you just the popularity of this product. So we're offering a 2010 version of the class and a 2013 version. As Tom mentioned a little bit earlier, they are different. There are differences in the 2013 version, most notably the fact that PowerPivot is baked right into Excel. You don't have to download and add it in, but there are other differences as far as the interface goes as well. So you'd want to pick the version that's right for what you're using on the desktop right now. But those classes do go into more detail. Specifically, one place that they go into detail is more in depth on the functions, the DAX functions that you can use within PowerPivot as well. The 2013 version of the class was just released. We wrote the book ourselves, and we think it's a really great class that gives you a lot more detail on what Tom's been able to show you today. So I just wanted to mention those, and thank you, Tom, for putting those up. That class, the PowerPivot 2010 or 2013, can also be brought to your location. So if you have a group of people that you're looking to train, we can bring that one-day class directly to you and teach it on site as well. So just feel free to contact me. I think all of you have my email address from the invitation that you received for this webinar. So Tom, I think that's all I had. I don't think we had any questions in the chat window so far, but maybe if you've opened up the microphones or you want to open them up, we can see if there are any questions out there for you.
Absolutely. I'm going to open up the mic, Joel, and obviously, everybody, Skillforge is available for all of your training needs. So we're going to unmute everybody. Does anybody have any questions, any comments? It's going to start getting a little bit noisy here. So any questions for everybody now? All right. Well, thank you so much for attending, everybody, and we look forward to serving you training in the future. You can go to skillforge.com or the username numbers on the screen at this time. Or you can always contact me after the session as well. Thank you so much for attending, and have a productive week.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, okay, we do have a question.
Looks like we have one question.
Question did come in. Hold on. Let's see what we can do about that.
You want to maybe mute everyone again?
I'm going to mute everybody. That's a good idea.
Okay.
All right. Trying to get that. All right, if you hold on, everybody, the questions. All right. All right, so let's see if I can get the chat now.
Yeah, so it looks like the question, Tom, was how did you get the slicers to show on the field list?
Okay, well, that when I downloaded the PowerPivot, it came like that automatically. So in other words, when you use the PowerPivot and make a pivot table from the PowerPivot, it'll do that automatically for you. So that's a nice enhancement because, and also even the way the slicers actually display is different than a normal PowerPivot, a normal pivot table. So Liz asked if it will be available as a recording, and we will have that available, and Joel will let you know the details once that is available.
Yeah, that's a good point. And folks, if you don't follow us on Facebook yet, please take a moment to check out our Facebook page. That's probably the best place to get a list of the recordings that we publish up to our YouTube site, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/skillforge, and so I'll be publishing the link there later today. Or if you want to find us on YouTube, our link there is youtube.com/skillforgetv, all one word, Skillforge TV, and we'll post the recording there later for you to go and view.
All right. So, is there any other questions? We want to. Oh, you're welcome. We want to thank everybody for coming out today, and have a great rest of the week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.